Welcome back to the deep dive. We're all about plunging into stories, the ones that really shape how we see things. Often finding surprising stuff hidden just beneath the surface, even in tales we think we know inside out.
Mhm.
And today we're doing exactly that with, well, maybe one of the most iconic figures out there, Batman. You know the name, right? The cape, the cowl.
Of course.
But for a lot of people, the actual origin, the real genesis of the Dark Knight, it's still this fascinating, really complex story just waiting to be explored. And Christopher Nolan's 2005 film, Batman Begins.
Wow. It's not just another superhero flick, is it? It's widely seen as this masterclass in psychological depth, grounded storytelling. It basically changed the game for origin stories.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do with this deep dive. But look, we're not here to just run through the plot points again,
Yeah.
because you, our listener, you're smart, you probably know the basic story already.
Instead, we really want to unpack the intricate, nuanced narrative of how Bruce Wayne actually became Batman. We'll explore those key events, the really deep psychological shifts he goes through, and the themes that make this particular version so incredibly powerful.
So getting beyond just the what happened.
Exactly. It's about getting to the essence of why this origin story hits so hard, the why and the how of this hero's creation. Think of this as kind of like a shortcut to really grasping those critical moments, the deeper meanings woven into the fabric of this iconic beginning. The goal is you walk away not just knowing the story, but really understanding its lasting power.
Okay, so let's dive right in. The absolute beginning. And for Bruce Wayne, that beginning is defined by just unbearable, almost physical trauma, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
The film starts by throwing us right into young Bruce's world. He's this wealthy kid, heir to the Wayne fortune, and he's at the opera with his parents in Gotham City. Nolan sets this up brilliantly. There's this palpable sense of unease, right? A kind of foreboding hanging in the air even before the tragedy actually happens.
You feel something's coming.
And then in just a moment of, childhood fear, he gets scared by some bat-like imagery in the performance. These unsettling opera figures dressed like bats, kind of predatory.
Right, the dancers representing fear,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. And he asks to leave. Seems like such a small thing, right? An innocent request. But looking back, it's the devastating trigger for this chain of events that just completely changes his life forever. Because right outside that theater, under the streetlights, they run into a mugger, Joe Chill.
And what happens next? Look, it isn't just a sad event in a story. It is the absolute foundational trauma of Bruce Wayne's entire existence. And Nolan shows it with this unflinching directness that really sets the tone for the whole film.
He doesn't shy away from it.
Not at all. Joe Chill brutally murders Thomas and Martha Wayne right there in
Yeah.
front of young Bruce. But what's really clever, and where you start seeing Nolan's narrative genius, is how the film meticulously weaves that immediate terror together with an earlier childhood incident. Exactly. We get these flashbacks, right? To a much younger Bruce falling into this forgotten well on the Wayne estate. And down there, he's just overwhelmed, attacked by this swarm of bats. So you have this earlier kind of primal fear of bats, the helplessness of being trapped, being vulnerable.
And then that gets layered onto the horror of watching his parents die.
Precisely. Compounded
Yeah.
by the terror and the profound helplessness of that moment outside the theater. It's a double dose of trauma.
And it's not like a fuzzy memory for him, is it? Nolan makes sure you, the viewer, you feel like you're right there with young Bruce, seeing this horrific thing unfold.
Yeah, that front row seat feeling.
You see the pearls break, scatter everywhere.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful visual, isn't it? Showing how his perfect little world is just shattered in an instant. This isn't just backstory, it's a living nightmare that gets seared into his brain. So this profound, like you said, double-layered trauma, the old fear of bats, the overwhelming loss, that's really where his hero's journey kicks off. So how does this one single devastating moment, how does it set the path for everything else, taking him from this passive victim to someone who starts craving justice?
Well, it's the ultimate catalyst, isn't it? And the film uses this dual trauma, the bats and the murder, to show that Batman isn't just a reaction, right? It's this deep, almost subconscious transformation of those ingrained fears. Psychologically, you could almost see it as a form of repetition compulsion. Maybe not repeating the trauma itself, but definitely transforming its core elements.
Turning the fear into the symbol.
Exactly. He takes the very symbol of his deepest terror, the bat, and makes it his weapon, his identity. Every single choice he makes after that, every sacrifice, every skill he learns, it all stems from this one defining loss and that incredibly complex mix of fear and guilt he carries. He's not just fighting general crime in Gotham, he's fighting his own personal demons projected onto the city. That personal wound dictates who he becomes. Not just a crime fighter, but a symbol literally forged from his nightmares.
And that initial drive for justice, it's very raw at first, isn't it? Very personal. Years go by, and we see Bruce as an adult, played by Christian Bale, with that real brooding intensity.
Yeah, Bale nails that simmering anger.
And he's still struggling intensely with the grief, the rage. We find out he's actually planning a very personal act of revenge. Joe Chill, the guy who killed his parents, he's getting parole. He testified against Carmine Falcone, the big crime boss.
All right, a deal was cut.
And Bruce, he's just consumed by this anger. He plans to kill Chill the second he walks out of the courthouse. He's there, he's got a gun, he's ready to pull the trigger and get his personal payback.
But then, the twist. Before Bruce can actually do it, Chill is gunned down. Assassinated right there on the courthouse steps by one of Falcone's own people.
Yeah, it's shocking.
And that moment, where Bruce is basically robbed of his personal vengeance, it becomes this incredibly profound turning point for him. It's just a stark, brutal demonstration of how completely broken Gotham's conventional justice system is. Even when it tries to work, the criminal underworld just steps in and takes over. It can't deliver the closure, the deeper reckoning that Bruce is so desperately searching for.
Yeah, it shows him the system offers no real answers for him.
Exactly. It shows him how utterly disillusioned he should be and is with the very system that's supposed to protect people and provide justice. It's broken. It can't heal his wound, and it can't really protect his city either.
It really makes you think, though, doesn't it? What if Bruce had managed to kill Chill right then?
Oh, interesting thought.
How different would Batman be? If he started his journey with that act of personal vengeance, it feels like it would have created a totally different kind of figure, maybe more Punisher than Batman, driven by bloodlust, maybe. It would have completely changed the moral core of the symbol he eventually becomes.
That's a great point. It likely would have poisoned the well, as you say. He might have become a darker, more brutal vigilante, lacking that crucial moral boundary he later establishes.
But instead, being denied that personal revenge, it shifts his focus dramatically, doesn't it? He goes from this narrow personal vendetta to seeing the bigger picture, the systemic problem, Gotham itself, the pervasive corruption, the deep-seated decay. That becomes the real enemy he needs to fight.
Precisely. Denied that immediate, kind of selfish act of vengeance, Bruce makes this radical choice. He doesn't just mope around Gotham, he disappears. Vanishes completely. He goes into the self-imposed exile, traveling the world for, 7 years?
Yeah, a long time.
But crucially, this isn't him just running away from his pain or his city. No, it's a deliberate, immersive quest for understanding. The film shows him intentionally seeking out the criminal underworld, putting himself in situations, dangerous ones, where he can learn how criminals think, how they operate, literally from the inside out.
Like getting himself thrown in that prison in Asia.
Exactly. He intentionally gets himself locked up, lives among the very people he despises, endures their conditions, absorbs their methods, their mindset. It's extreme.
That's just an incredible dedication, isn't it? To willingly dive headfirst into the very darkness you plan to fight later. To really understand the mindset, the methods, by living it. It's not just learning martial arts in a dojo somewhere. It's about getting this intimate understanding of fear, of vulnerability, of how the underworld actually works. That willingness to descend into the heart of what he hates is pretty remarkable. What else would he really get from that, beyond just thinking like a criminal?
Oh, so much more. Beyond just the incredible mental toughness you'd need for that kind of immersion, this whole global journey provides the absolute bedrock for his unique skills and perspective. He learns all sorts of fighting styles, right? Not just the fancy martial arts, but the practical, often brutal techniques you need on the street or in prison.
Real-world stuff.
Exactly. He masters stealth, infiltration, evasion, all skills absolutely essential for someone planning to operate from the shadows. But maybe even more importantly, he develops this complex understanding, maybe even a sliver of empathy for the victims of crime, having seen the systems that prey on them from both sides. And crucially, he learns the psychological weaknesses of criminals, how to exploit their superstitions, how to turn their own fears against them. And there's a whole journey, this quest, eventually leads him right to the doorstep of this very secretive, morally gray organization that's going to truly forge him into something else entirely, something formidable.
Okay, this is where things get really, really interesting, isn't it? So Bruce's global search for understanding lands him in that prison in Asia. He got himself there on purpose, this calculated risk.
Which totally pays off for him in a way.
Right. And it's there, amidst all that harsh reality of the criminal world, that he gets approached by Henri Ducard. Liam Neeson, just fantastic casting.
Dating, yeah, with that gravitas.
And Ducard recruits him into the League of Shadows.
It's such a pivotal turn in the narrative, and it really highlights Bruce's relentless drive for knowledge, for power, for the means to achieve his goal. The League of Shadows, as we find out, they're not just, hired killers. They're this ancient, mysterious vigilante group.
With a very specific and kind of scary philosophy.
Extremely specific. Paradoxically, they aim for global justice, or what they see as justice, through extreme destructive means. They see themselves as this necessary force for balance, purging societies they deem corrupt beyond saving. And they train Bruce relentlessly, pushing him to his absolute physical and psychological limits.
Yeah, the training sequences are intense.
They teach him martial arts, stealth, but crucially, they drill him in fear-based tactics. It's a crucible, really. He's forced to confront his own demons, literally and figuratively, like overcoming his fear of bats as part of the training. They teach him to master his own fear and, chillingly, how to weaponize fear against others.
That harshness really stands out, doesn't it? It's not just about learning punches and kicks. It's about discipline, pushing past normal human limits, enduring extreme cold, extreme hardship, and understanding how to use fear, both his own and other people's, as a tool, as a weapon.
Exactly. It prepares him physically, absolutely, for the path he wants to take, but it also throws this huge ideological challenge right in his face, one that's going to ultimately define who Batman is. He's being taught this philosophy of fear, this methodology of destruction, but he has to figure out how that squares with his own developing moral code.
Which is fundamentally about saving people, not destroying them.
Precisely. And while this intense training absolutely prepares them physically, and, yeah, in many ways mentally, for what's coming, it forces this profound ideological conflict. Because the League's true leader, this mysterious figure, Ra's al Ghul, his ultimate plan is gradually revealed to Bruce.
And it's
to destroy Gotham City completely, to purge its deep-seated corruption, because they see it as like a diseased organism that's beyond saving, too far gone. The only solution in their eyes is to wipe the slate clean. Total annihilation.
Wow. The contrast there is just so stark, isn't it? You've got the League with this absolute, almost nihilistic view of justice, this ends justify the means thing where total eradication is the only answer. But Bruce's whole motivation, born from his own trauma, is to save his city, to protect the innocent people in it, not wipe it off the map. It's this fundamental clash, preservation versus disruption.
It really is. And look, while the League's diagnosis of Gotham's corruption might be disturbingly accurate, I mean, the city is clearly decaying, riddled with crime, systemic rot everywhere you look.
Yeah, they're not wrong about the problem.
No, but their prescription is just extreme, absolute, and utterly merciless. This moment forces Bruce to confront that fundamental question. Is destruction ever the right path to true justice? Can you really save a city, or humanity for that matter, by just eliminating a whole population?
And his answer is a clear no.
An absolute no. This is the point of no return for him. He completely rejects that idea, understanding that kind of path only leads to tyranny, not justice. And this leads directly, immediately to the defining moment for Batman's core moral code. Bruce refuses. He refuses to become an executioner, refuses to be a tool for mass destruction. He makes a definitive choice. He burns down their temple, fights Ducard, seemingly kills the decoy Ra's al Ghul, and crucially saves the injured Ducard.
And that's it, right? That's where the famous I won't kill principle is truly forged.
Absolutely. It's a direct, uncompromising rejection of the League's brutal methods, even when those methods are presented as a solution to a problem that seems impossible to solve otherwise. It's not just a personal vow he makes. It becomes the very foundation of his moral compass as Batman.
And the irony, of course, is huge. Saving Ducard, the very man who turns out to be the real Ra's al Ghul, setting up that incredible, deeply personal conflict later on.
Oh, the dramatic irony is delicious. But yeah, that act establishes the core principle that will guide him. It distinguishes him fundamentally from his teachers, from the League, from any other vigilante who might cross that line.
He draws his line in the sand right there?
He absolutely does. This choice sets the precedent for basically every major decision he makes later as Batman. He's gained these extraordinary skills, unmatched physical abilities, mental discipline, mastery of stealth, a deep understanding of fear, but he has unequivocally rejected the philosophy that would turn him into just another killer, another instrument of mass destruction. He gets that true justice isn't about vengeance or annihilation. It's about upholding a higher standard, even when it's incredibly hard. So having grabbed the tools but rejected the destructive rulebook, Bruce is finally ready. ready to go back to Gotham, armed with his own unique brand of vigilante justice. He's not just a man seeking revenge anymore, he's a man with a mission and, crucially, an unshakable moral code. So Bruce Wayne returns to Gotham, 7 intense years away. He's a completely changed man now, hardened, incredibly skilled, deeply focused. And what does he find?
A city that's sunk even deeper into the mire, hasn't it? Crime, corruption, even worse than when he left. Yeah, it's a city basically on the brink, almost like this perfect, chaotic canvas, just waiting for a new kind of hero, someone Gotham desperately needs, even if it doesn't know it yet.
Indeed. And Bruce's whole grueling journey, it's prepared him for exactly this moment, hasn't it? He gets the criminal underworld now from the inside out. He lived it. And crucially, he's completely rejected that path of absolute destruction the League offered him. Gotham's despair creates this urgent, gaping need, and he's now uniquely equipped to fill it.
But he knows he can't do it alone.
Right. He realizes pretty quickly he can't fight Gotham's entrenched corruption single-handedly. He needs resources, sure, the Wayne fortune helps there. But more importantly, he needs allies, trusted people who believe in a different kind of justice, a different way forward. His first move is reclaiming his family legacy, Wayne Enterprises, not just as a symbol of wealth, but as a practical tool.
And that brings us to his absolutely essential support system, doesn't it? The people who make Batman possible behind the scenes. Alfred Pennyworth, his incredibly loyal, steadfast butler.
Michael Caine, just perfect.
Perfect. And Lucius Fox, this brilliant, kind of unassuming tech expert hiding in plain sight at Wayne Enterprises, played by Morgan Freeman.
Another piece of brilliant casting. With their help, Bruce starts developing all that advanced gear, the prototype armored suit that becomes the iconic bat suit. And of course, he sets up the Batcave beneath Wayne Manor, the ultimate secret base.
Talk about Alfred and Lucius a bit more. How crucial are they really?
Oh, they are absolutely indispensable to the birth of Batman. Poor Alfred. Look, he's so much more than a butler. He's Bruce's moral compass, his emotional anchor, his surrogate father figure. He provides unwavering support, sharp counsel, and often those much-needed doses of dry British wit to keep Bruce grounded.
He keeps him human.
He really does. And Lucius Fox. He's the pragmatic genius. He equips Batman with all this cutting-edge yet surprisingly believable technology. Often he's providing these prototypes or innovative solutions without ever explicitly knowing who he's really helping or the true purpose of these gadgets. It's a clever dynamic.
And the gear itself feels different in this movie, doesn't it? More grounded.
Totally. That's a key part of Nolan's approach. The gear is functional, it looks realistic, it's innovative, but plausible. It mostly avoids purely fantastical elements. And the Batcave. Yeah, it's visually stunning, incredibly cool, but it's not just a lair. It's a sophisticated strategic operations hub and a hidden sanctuary. And symbolically, it's born from his own childhood trauma that very well where he first confronted his terror of bats. It's like he's literally descending into his past to build his future.
Wow, that's a great way to put it. The ultimate secret hideout, literally built on his history. But like you said, the physical stuff, the suit, the gadgets, that's only part of it. Batman needs more than that to be effective, especially in a city drowning in fear. He needs a psychological weapon.
This is absolutely where Nolan's interpretation gets really deep, and what sets this Batman apart. Bruce adopts the persona, the symbol of Batman, intentionally using fear as his primary weapon against criminals.
It's not just a cool costume.
Not at all. This is a profound, deliberate psychological choice. He takes his own deepest, most primal fear bats, the symbol of his own trauma, and he weaponizes it. He turns his personal terror into this potent tool for justice. He transforms his greatest vulnerability into his greatest strength. It's incredible, really.
So his biggest weakness literally becomes his greatest strength. That's quite the psychological turnaround. But how does that actually work on screen for us watching, and how does it make him uniquely effective in Gotham's underworld?
Well, it works on a few levels. For Bruce himself, you could argue it's a form of sublimation, maybe. He's redirecting all that powerful energy from his past trauma and fear into something constructive, albeit pretty aggressive.
Right.
For his enemies, though, it's a carefully crafted psychological tactic. It's designed to disorient them, demoralize them, terrify them, what he calls the superstitious and cowardly lot of criminals. Nolan uses all sorts of film techniques to sell this.
Remember.
The sound design, right? That terrifying flapping sound.
Yeah, unsettling.
The low-angle camera shots that make Batman look huge, imposing, the way he just appears and disappears from the shadows like a ghost, and the sheer brutal efficiency of how he fights. He's not just beating them up. He's messing with their heads, attacking their sense of security, their sanity even.
But how is this different from what the League of Shadows wanted to do with fear? because they used fear too.
Ah, that's the critical distinction, and it's what separates him completely from the League. How does his use of fear differ from their plan for mass destruction? Batman applies fear selectively. It's a deterrent. It's a tool to control situations, to extract information, to bring individual criminals to justice. He instills fear to try and prevent crime, ultimately aiming to restore order.
Targeted fear.
Exactly. Targeted, precise, and ultimately aimed at restoration. The League, on the other hand, uses fear to induce mass chaos, to drive an entire city to tear itself apart. Their use of fear is broad, indiscriminate, nihilistic. Batman's is calculated, focused, and serves his goal of justice, not destruction. And this calculated psychological edge, it immediately puts him on a collision course with Gotham's established criminal element, which then leads him to uncover that much deeper, much more insidious conspiracy lurking beneath the surface.
Okay, so Batman's out there, this terrifying new symbol. Fear is starting to ripple through the underworld. His first targets are the obvious ones, right? The most visible signs of Gotham's sickness, starting with the big boss, Carmine Falcone, and his huge drug operations.
Right. Falcone, played brilliantly by Tom Wilkinson, he isn't just some generic mob boss, though. He represents that overt criminal element, the sprawling, visible network of organized crime. But more than that, he's deeply tangled up with Gotham's corrupt institutions. The cops, the courts, everybody's on his payroll, it seems.
So taking him down is strategic.
Absolutely. It's a strategic first move for Batman. It's a public demonstration of his power, his effectiveness. It's a way to start chipping away at that visible layer of decay before you can dig down to the hidden, deeper roots of the problem. It's like a necessary first strike, a testing ground for his methods. But taking Falcone down, while it makes waves, it quickly reveals that Falcone himself is just a symptom. He's a consequence of Gotham's rot, not the ultimate cause. His removal basically opens the door to a far more sinister truth lurking underneath.
And that investigation leads Batman somewhere truly disturbing. Dr. Jonathan Crane, Cillian Murphy, just chillingly calm in the role.
So good.
A corrupt psychiatrist at Arkham Asylum, the very place meant for healing. And Crane isn't just corrupt, he's using this terrifying, fear-inducing hallucinogen on his victims, driving them insane.
This is where the story gets really chilling, and the irony is just dripping, isn't it? You have a psychiatrist, a doctor, whose whole job is supposed to be about healing minds, easing suffering, working inside a mental institution, and he's weaponizing fear itself in its most literal chemical form.
The Scarecrow.
The Scarecrow. Crane literally weaponizes the very concept that Batman is using as a psychological tool, but he does it in this horrific, tangible, pathological way. It creates this fascinating, deeply unsettling mirror image. Batman instills fear to try and bring order and justice. Crane induces fear directly, chemically, leading to profound mental agony, insanity, chaos. The psychological horror, those hallucinatory sequences showing the effects of his toxin. Nolan depicts him with this disturbing realism. It makes Crane a truly unique and terrifying threat, playing right into the film's core themes of trauma and fear. He's the dark reflection of Batman's own methods.
But the plot thickens even more, doesn't it? Finding out about Crane and his fear toxin leads Batman to the really shocking truth, the reveal about the League of Shadows still being active, still pulling strings in Gotham.
And here it is, the ultimate twist, the master stroke that just completely flips everything Bruce thought he knew, everything he went through during his training. It turns out Dr. Crane is working for the League of Shadows. They've secretly infiltrated Gotham, patiently laying the groundwork for its total destruction.
And the biggest reveal.
The biggest one. The man Bruce thought was dead, Ra's al Ghul, is alive. And Henri Ducard, Bruce's mentor, the man who shaped him, the man he saved from that burning temple, that is Ra's al Ghul's true identity.
Wow. The shock of that reveal is huge. It forces Bruce and us, the audience, to completely rethink his training, that earlier moral choice to save Ducard. It was all manipulation.
All part of the long game. It highlights the League's incredible patience, their meticulous long-term planning, their subtle, almost invisible infiltration of the city. They've been working from within, just waiting for the right moment to strike.
And their actual plan, once it's fully revealed, it's just diabolical in its scale and its calculated cruelty. Ra's and the League, they plan to dump Crane's fear toxin into Gotham's main water supply.
Contaminate the whole city.
But that's not enough. To make it airborne, to really unleash hell, they're going to vaporize it using this powerful microwave emitter device and the ultimate insult.
Yeah, where did they get it?
Stolen directly from Wayne Enterprises. Bruce's own family legacy, the symbol of hope and progress in Gotham, twisted into an instrument of mass destruction and chaos.
It's chillingly brilliant, isn't it? In a twisted way. They're not going to level Gotham with bombs. They're going to orchestrate its self-destruction through widespread terror and madness. The city, consumed by its own deepest, most primal fears unleashed by the toxin, would literally tear itself apart from the inside. It's psychological warfare on a citywide scale.
Using Bruce's own company against him, against the city.
The ultimate irony, right? Using his family legacy, Wayne Enterprises' resources and infrastructure as the very tool for the city's demise. It's this grand, almost theatrical act of urban cleansing, fulfilling the League's original mandate. Purge corrupt societies by forcing them to destroy themselves. So, with the terrifying scale and the insidious nature of this plan finally out in the open, the stage is set for a truly climactic showdown. One that's going to test Batman's resolve, his skills, and that carefully constructed moral code to its absolute limit.
All right, so Gotham is literally teetering on the edge of total chaos. Batman is in this desperate race against time to stop the League of Shadows' apocalyptic plan. But he's not completely alone in this fight, is he?
No, thankfully not. He gets absolutely crucial help from Detective James Gordon Gary Oldman, just pitch perfect as this honest, weary cop trying to do the right thing.
The symbol of integrity in a corrupt force.
Exactly. And also from his childhood friend, Rachel Dawes, played by Katie Holmes, who's now an assistant district attorney fighting the good fight within the legal system. Meanwhile, the fear toxin is already spreading, isn't it? Through the Narrows, Gotham's poorest district, causing riots, panic, terrifying hallucinations. Chaos is erupting.
Why is the help from Gordon and Rachel so important here?
Oh, their importance can't be overstated. They represent these last flickers of hope and integrity within Gotham's official systems. Gordon is that beacon, right? The honest cop in a sea of corruption, believing in justice through the proper channels, even when it seems impossible. Rachel embodies the city's potential for justice within the law, a constant reminder that Gotham is worth saving, that it can be saved from within, not just by a vigilante from the outside.
So it shows Batman can't do it all himself.
Precisely. Their teamwork really underscores this vital point Nolan keeps making. Even Batman, as powerful and symbolic as he is, cannot save the city alone. He needs human connection. He needs trust. He needs the efforts of good people working within the system, too. And the choice of the Narrows as the first place to hit with the toxin, that just highlights the League's cold strategic cruelty. Hit the most vulnerable first, exploit the existing despair, and watch the terror spread like a plague through the whole city.
And that final showdown, it takes place on such a grand symbolic stage, doesn't it? Batman versus Ra's al Ghul on that elevated monorail train.
Oh, the symbolism is just layered on thick there in the best way. You got this piece of modern infrastructure, right? The monorail meant for progress, for connecting the city.
Turned into a weapon.
Exactly. Weaponized, carrying the device that will unleash mass destruction, and it's heading straight for Wayne Tower, the absolute heart of Gotham's financial power, the symbol of Bruce's family legacy. The physical fight happening on that speeding train, it's a direct, violent manifestation of the ideological war between them. Batman's unwavering drive to save his city, to protect life, versus Raz's absolute conviction that Gotham must be destroyed to be reborn. That philosophy of death and cleansing, it's not just a fistfight, it's a battle for Gotham's soul, and maybe for Bruce Wayne's soul, too.
And it's during this fight, as the train is careening towards disaster, that Batman delivers maybe his most iconic line, the one that really defines his code. He beats Raz, disables the train controls, and leaves him to crash, saying,
I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you.
Chills. That line just perfectly sums it up.
It's the ultimate concise statement of Batman's unwavering moral code, isn't it? And it's important. It's not a passive act. It's not him just letting Raz die or finding a loophole. It's a deliberate, principled choice. It firmly distinguishes him from being just another vigilante, or worse, an executioner like the like wanted him to be.
He upholds his principle.
He upholds the principle he established back at the temple when he refused to execute that farmer. He will not take a life. He will not stoop to the level of his enemies. But, and this is the crucial part, he also won't actively intervene to prevent a villain's demise if it's the direct, self-inflicted consequence of their own evil actions. It cleanly separates him from the League's brutal nihilistic philosophy. It's this powerful testament to his strict adherence to his principles, even when facing his most dangerous enemy, the man who trained him. That moment sets the precedent for his entire career as Gotham's protector. It defines the limits, the boundaries of his vigilantism.
So, the immediate threat, the citywide disaster, it's averted. Gotham can start the long, painful process of healing. Bruce publicly reclaims control of Wayne Enterprises, which signals not just his return as Bruce Wayne, but his full commitment now to protecting Gotham, using legitimate means alongside his other methods.
Hmm.
But the personal cost of being Batman hits home immediately, doesn't it? Rachel Dawes, she kisses him, there's that connection, but ultimately she tells him she can't be with him while he is Batman. She recognizes that impossible duality, the secret life that demands total sacrifice.
Yeah, Rachel's decision is really profound and heartbreaking in its own way. It just underscores the deep personal sacrifice Bruce has to make. By choosing the cowl, he accepts this profound isolation. His potential for a normal life or personal happiness seems fundamentally incompatible with the all-consuming burden of being Batman.
But there are glimmers of hope elsewhere. Gordon gets promoted.
Right, Gordon gets promoted to lieutenant. That offers this little glimmer of hope for Gotham's official channels, suggesting maybe Batman's actions have inspired some positive change, some renewed integrity within the GCPD. It hints at this potential partnership between the Shadow Protector and the honest cop.
A fragile alliance.
Very fragile.
Yeah.
But the film wisely refuses to give us a neat, tidy ending, because then Gordon unveils the new threat, the playing card.
The Joker card. Chillin'.
Absolutely chilling. That immediate introduction of this calling card, this omen, it signals loud and clear. The fight is far from over. This wasn't the final battle. It was just the end of one chaotic chapter. And it ominously hints at the beginning of the next, promising a totally new kind of threat, someone who operates on a different level than Falcone or even Ra's al Ghul. Escalation.
And Batman's response when Gordon shows him the card warns him about this new guy with a flair for the theatrical. Just that concise, chilling line.
I'll look into it.
Perfect ending.
Isn't it just? That simple, powerful statement perfectly sets up the sequel, The Dark Knight. It shows Batman's unyielding commitment, his acceptance of this endless burden, and it hints strongly at the escalating nature of crime and chaos he's going to face. It's a promise, really.
Yeah.
To Gordon, to Gotham, and to us, the audience. His mission is far from over. The fight for Gotham's soul has only just begun. And beyond just setting up a sequel, this whole film, Batman Begins, it really did redefine his genre and left us with some powerful, deeper messages about what it even means to be a hero.
Yeah, Batman Begins really isn't just an action movie, is it? It's this deeply psychological drama. It digs into these huge themes: fear, justice, identity, and that powerful, almost transformative idea that anyone, even this deeply traumatized orphan, can make a choice to become a symbol.
Absolutely. The film explicitly shows us how Bruce chooses his symbol. He doesn't just stumble upon it. He intentionally takes his deepest, most personal, most primal fear bats, right? The creatures that terrified him as a kid, the image associated with his parents' murder, and he turns it into his greatest weapon. He uses it against the very criminals who prey on fear. It's this remarkable act of psychological integration, of turning weakness into strength.
Taking control of the narrative of his own fear.
Exactly. And what's more, the film constantly reminds us that Batman is more than just one man in a suit. He's an idea. He's a concept. A symbol that can inspire incredible hope in the good people of Gotham and at the same time strike absolute visceral terror into the hearts of criminals. That constant interplay, that tension between Bruce Wayne, the damaged man underneath, and Batman, the constructed symbol he projects, and the way those lines blur.
That's core to the film's psychological depth. It makes you ask, doesn't it? How does this focus on symbolism make Batman resonate so uniquely, maybe more enduringly, than other heroes who just rely on, say, superpowers? I think maybe because it makes him feel more accessible. Despite the billions and the gadgets, we all have fears, right? We all struggle with who we are.
Precisely. His power doesn't come from being bitten by a radioactive spider or being from another planet. It's forged from trauma, yes, but also from conscious choice, from immense personal discipline, from human will. This emphasis on his human struggles, on the choice he makes to embody this symbol of justice, even with all the personal cost, makes him incredibly compelling. He's a mortal man using psychological warfare, peak physical conditioning, and cutting-edge tech to fight a city's decay. And that grounded, human-centered approach is exactly what redefined the superhero genre back in 2005.
Yeah, before Batman Begins, superhero movies often felt bigger, maybe more cartoonish sometimes, leaning heavily on spectacle.
They often did feel more detached, more overtly fantastical. And Nolan's approach brought this gritty realism, didn't it? It forced viewers to actually consider the human psyche behind the mask. It shifted the focus from just the what the cool action to the how and the why of the hero.
Making it feel plausible almost.
Almost. He grounded the fantastic elements in this believable reality. He showed us how a man could, plausibly, become Batman through sheer force of will, intense training, and vast resources. He used practical effects extensively, shot on location to give Gotham that tangible, lived-in, decaying feel. The city itself became a character. The film wasn't just about the fights and explosions. It focused intently on the process of a hero's creation, making Bruce Wayne relatable and his journey deeply human, even amidst these extraordinary circumstances. Batman Begins proved, without a doubt, that superhero films could be intelligent, character-driven dramas packed with complex themes, not just disposable popcorn entertainment. And that grounded approach, it left this undeniable, lasting legacy on the whole genre, influencing countless superhero films and even entire cinematic universes that came after it, pushing them towards more psychological depth, more realism in their portrayal of extraordinary people.
It really is an incredible journey when you unpack it like this. From that devastating childhood trauma, we've watched Bruce Wayne wrestle with it, understand it, and ultimately transform that pain and fear into this singular, unwavering purpose. We've seen him intentionally forge this powerful symbol more than just a costume and commit to that strict, almost punishing moral code that defines the Dark Knight.
Mm.
It's just a masterclass in origin storytelling, isn't it? A real benchmark for cinema.
So, after digging this deep into Batman's genesis, what does it all mean for you listening right now? Think about it. If a character, even a fictional one, can take their deepest personal fear, really look at it, understand it, and then forge it into their greatest weapon for justice,
Yeah.
essentially turning their trauma into their strength.
Yep.
And if they can commit, truly commit, to an unwavering moral principle like, I won't kill, even when they're tempted by extreme solutions, by easier paths, by the very methods their enemies use, what does that say about the choices we face? When we're confronted with our own darkness, our own fears, or just the overwhelming complexities of the world around us, how do you transform your personal fears, or how do you live by your core principles to create something meaningful, something impactful in your own life, something to maybe chew on until our next deep dive?